I'm Tom Nolan, and this is my first time on Julie and Friends. I feel the need to introduce myself, but many of you know I'm Julie's son. You can see me on TCT Today and many other things that we do here at TCT, but I'm on Julie and Friends for the first time. She invited me, allowed me to come on, however you want to say it, to cook a turkey. We're getting ready for Thanksgiving, and we're showing you how to put together a good Thanksgiving meal, and we all know that a good Thanksgiving meal wouldn't be complete without the turkey, the most important part. So I have some ingredients in front of me. I'm gonna show you what I do to prepare the turkey each year. And in front of me, starting to heat up already, we're gonna bring it to a boil, is a gallon of vegetable stock. And as this starts to heat up, we'll start mixing in some of the other ingredients. So they're gonna put everything up on the screen. It should be available on the website, but if you just wanna grab a pen and a paper, right now I'll start giving you everything you need. Now this is gonna go in a couple parts. If you're wanting to make a big turkey, I suggest that you get ready for really about a week's worth of work. Behind me in the sink is the turkey thawing out. Now for about every 4 to 5 pounds of turkey, you're gonna want to give it about a day in the refrigerator to thaw out. Now I mentioned mine's in the sink, not in the refrigerator, so you can cheat that a little bit if you were trying to get this to you early so you have time to prepare, but if you forgot, you're going out at the last minute, you can do a quick thaw. You don't want to leave it out on the counter because outside of the turkey is going to thaw before the inside. You're going to end up ruining the turkey, but you can put it in some ice water in the sink, and for about 30 minutes per pound, so about a half hour per pound. If you have about a 10 to 12 pound, it'll be done in 5 or 6 hours. So you can start the process of that and get it done really quickly. Now, as I said, I have a gallon of vegetable stock here. I'm gonna season this, get it heated up, boil all the ingredients together, and we're gonna make a brine. Now, what I like to do is brine my turkey overnight, the night before, about 8 to 16 hours. It depends on your schedule and where you can put it in, but putting the nice brine on the bird makes it easy on Thanksgiving morning to just put it in, and it really adds a nice flavor. So in addition to the vegetable stock, I have a cup of kosher salt. Now I always prefer to cook with kosher salt. If you're sprinkling it on something, you can feel it a little bit better, but this is all going to dissolve into our brine. So whatever type of salt you have available, I'll pour that in there and just kind of mix it in a little bit. Again, we're going to hope this all dissolves in here. And the next step is about a half cup of light brown sugar. Now again, this is for about a 12-pound turkey. If you're wanting to cook a bigger turkey or a smaller turkey, you can always just kind of adjust the levels, but again, this is all going to get mixed in with the vegetable stock, and later on we're going to mix it in with some ice water. And so if you're a little bit off on your ingredients, that's fine. Then we have 1 tablespoon of the black peppercorns. And again, you can just put in some black pepper, but I like using the whole peppercorns for this. And allspice berries, 1.5 teaspoons of allspice berries. And again, a lot of times it's hard to find the whole allspice. If you get the powdered and want to substitute that, it's perfectly fine. And then I have 1.5 teaspoons of some ginger. This is ginger paste. You can use fresh ginger. Another good thing around the holidays is sometimes you can find the candied ginger, and that gives it a real holiday flavor to it if you're making it for Thanksgiving or for Christmas. I think you can also candy your own ginger, but that's a little bit too much work for me, so we won't get into that. And so we're mixing this all up. We're gonna bring it to a boil, just kind of let all the ingredients come together, the flavors mix in. And you know, I just want to say that when I'm cooking, it's a passion of mine, and you know, one of the reasons is I like to be able to get together with people, eat, and we know at Thanksgiving it's the perfect time together to get together with family, to get together with friends, and to just enjoy the holidays and enjoy eating together. And so it's one of my passions to be able to cook, and I feel like it's something that God has gifted me with, and so I use it as an opportunity to not just feed myself and feed my family, but again, to use it as a way to connect with people. You know, we can go out for lunches and dinners with friends or co-workers or different people, and it's such a great way to just kind of bond together, connect with people, and so this is a really great opportunity. But back to talking about our meal today, you know, I do want to say we're going to make, again, what I consider kind of a small turkey, about 10 to 12 pounds. But if you're preparing for your meal, what you're going to want to do is plan on about a pound per person. Now you're saying, who's going to eat with all that other food we're preparing, and we got to save room for pumpkin pie? But you got to remember, if you're dealing with a whole turkey, you have bones and everything else in there weighing down that turkey. So about a pound per person that you're planning on having there. Of course, I always like just getting the biggest turkey I can find, and that just leaves more leftovers. I think later on in one of the episodes, we're going to share with you what you can do with those turkey leftovers. So just keep that in mind. The bigger the better is what I always think. But this is starting to come to a boil. So we're just going to let it kind of boil up a little bit, make sure everything mixes in real good and we have a good brine. In a minute, we're going to have to put this in the refrigerator, and then we'll come back and show you us putting the turkey in the in the brine here. So let's just stir it one more time, make sure it's going really good here. I'll turn off our stove and then get this over to start cooling off before we put it in our refrigerator. And then I'll show you mixing it in with the ice and water in just a moment. And again, we're going to let this sit, really let those flavors soak into the turkey overnight, and then we'll show you how we can put it all together and prepare the turkey a little bit later. All right, so our brine should be done cooling off now. It's in the fridge. I'm going to get it out in just a minute. While I was waiting on that, I cut up some apples, oranges, lemons, something to get a little bit of fruit, citrus flavor that we're going to put into the bucket in a minute. I went ahead and got the turkey out, and I filled the bucket up partially with about a gallon of water and put some ice in there. This is going to sit overnight, so what we don't want is for our turkey to be sitting there in room temperature. We just want to make sure that it stays cold and doesn't get any diseases. Now, before we put our turkey in, we have our turkey neck and bag of goodies in here. We're going to want to make sure we remove all of this stuff, and you can save this for making gravy or just for frying up later. We're not going to do anything with that today, but the important part is that you do want to make sure it's removed. So as I said, we already have some ice water in here. We're going to pour in our brine. And basically, we're just wanting to make sure we have enough here that's going to fully cover the turkey. Again, you don't want it to be out in the open air or getting too warm as it sits overnight. We'll dump that in, and it should be pretty good there. We'll dump in our oranges, our lemons, our apples. Mix those around in there a little bit, and now we just let it sit overnight. Okay, so we've let the turkey sit in the brine for about 8 hours now. Now it's ready to take it out, prep it, and cook it. Now, as I said, normally what I'll typically do is just let it sit overnight, and what we're going to do here is make some aromatics. This is going to go inside the turkey instead of a stuffing. I find this gives the turkey much better flavor. Now, personally, I'm not a big fan of stuffing, so that helps. I know many people like to cook it inside the turkey, but I would recommend, even if you're going to have some stuffing, cook it separately. You'll get plenty of drippings from the turkey in the pan if you want to add that in to give your stuffing some extra flavor, but I found this the best way to get some flavor. So we have 1 apple cut up, a half an onion, and 2 cinnamon sticks. We're going to put these all together in a microwave safe bowl and add about a cup of water. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in the microwave for about 5 minutes. As that's cooking, we also have 4 sprigs of rosemary here, 6 sage leaves, and a couple of bay leaves. These aren't going to go in the microwave and get heated up with the water, but when this gets done, we're going to add these to it and use it to put inside the turkey. So first thing we need to do is get this turkey out of here and rinse it off. So I'm going to go to the sink and do that real quick. Okay, so our turkey is rinsed off here. Just want to get some of that brine off of it after it's sat for 8 to 16 hours or overnight. It's going to have all that flavor soaked in. So we're done with the brine for now. And now that our turkey's rinsed, we just want to make sure it's really dry here. Get some paper towels here, dry it off on the outside. And then in a minute, as our aromatics are cooking, before we put those in, I'm going to take some canola oil I have here, and we're just going to cover the turkey with that inside and out. Now, when I'm doing this at home, I'll typically use just some butter instead of canola oil. I think that that gives it a little bit of a better flavor, but the canola oil is a little healthier. And also for TV here, or if you're planning on presenting the turkey in the middle of the table, you know, being able to do with the oil gives it a nice even look, and it also doesn't tear off the skin as much, so you won't have that peeling there. So we just kind of pour a little bit on, spread this on. Again, if I'm not as concerned with the look, another trick I'll do is to actually put the oil or the butter under the skin. So of course we want to cook it with the skin on, but we can kind of peel it up in different places and kind of make sure that just adds a little bit more flavor and moisture into the turkey itself, so that doesn't all get stuck on the skin here. Make sure we flip it over, get the back, and again, just getting a nice even coat over everything. Pour a little in the middle. Now, as we're waiting for the aromatics to finish, we got about a couple more minutes. We can clean up a little bit here, and then we're going to get our foil out. Now, one thing about the turkey, it's a big bird. It's going to be in there for at least a few hours, but there's a couple things you're going to want to cover up. Again, this is mostly for presentation, but you want to stop the tips of the wings and the tips of the legs from getting burned. So we'll try and tuck the wings up under the turkey, and hopefully that'll help a little bit. But I find just wrapping it in a little bit of tin foil, probably not going to be eating the very tip of the wing here. And even so, it should cook plenty in there for a couple hours, even wrapped up in the tin foil. Undo the legs here, and do the same thing for the end of the turkey legs. Now at this point, still waiting for a little bit on the aromatics that are in the microwave, but can start putting some of this rosemary in there. I like to spread it out a little bit. I don't know how much of a difference that makes, but just kind of make sure you don't have the ingredients kind of piled on top of each other, but spread it out in here. One thing that I do like about the aromatics compared to a traditional stuffing is if you have a little bit of room for the air in the oven to flow through there, I feel like it cooks the turkey a little bit more evenly from the inside to the outside. Here's the microwave going off now, so we'll pull this out. Now this is going to be a little hot here, but if we can grab a spoon, we'll put our cinnamon in there, our apples, and our onions, and we will be ready to put this in the oven. When we actually put the turkey in the oven. I have it preheating right now. We're going to start out at 500 degrees. Now we're not going to want to leave it at that temperature, but I want to start it out at about 500 degrees. That'll help for the first 30 minutes. Really put a nice crisp on the skin of the turkey. Again, kind of helps the look, and if you like that crispy texture to the turkey. And again, if you've let it sit in the brine for long enough and you've done the aromatics right, you should end up with a pretty moist turkey. So getting the oven a little bit too hot or for a little bit too long isn't going to make too big of a difference. And now for the first 30 minutes, we're going to cook it breast side up. After 30 minutes, we're going to lower the oven down to 350 degrees, and then we're going to flip it over. That's another thing that I think really adds a lot of flavor to the turkey breast, which is where you're going to get most of the flavor and most of the meat. And if you let it sit upside down, that kind of lets all those juices kind of soak in there as it fills the pan. It'll really help you out. So again, we'll leave it breast side up for now to really get browned, but 30 minutes, we'll flip it over. This also comes with a temperature thermometer, so when this pops up here in a couple hours, we're going to know that it's done. If your turkey, most turkeys I think come with these nowadays, but if you don't have one, you're going to want to make sure you get it, because I've had big turkeys that are done in a couple hours. I've had little turkeys that take several hours. But one thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the internal temperature of the meat gets to the right place. Otherwise, the turkey's either going to be overdone or not done enough, and you certainly don't want that. So right now the oven should be preheated to 500. Let's put it in, and we'll set our timer for 30 minutes. All right, well, the turkey is done. Our little temperature thermometer popped up, so let's pull it out of the oven and take a look. Now remember, we didn't show it on camera, but about 30 minutes in, we went ahead and flipped the bird back over so that it could sit breast side down and those juices really get real moist. And at that point, we lowered the temperature to 350 degrees. So we'll just flip this back over, and you can see the color looks good, and temperature thermometer is telling us that it's ready to go. So at this point, we probably want to let it sit. You might want to put a little foil over it for 15 minutes or so, and you can actually probably take off the foil here on the ends. Don't need to look at that when it's on the table. Want to take the thermometer out of here, and depending on how you want to present it, I usually just kind of carve right into it and set it out, but I think the girls today might want to make a little bit more of a fancy presentation for you. But that's your Thanksgiving turkey, and this is my favorite recipe. Very moist, very delicious.
Like what you saw? Make sure to comment and like below. Hit that subscribe button for more content uploaded weekly.